You're listening to the Membership Geeks podcast, bringing you proven practical tips and advice from the leading experts on growing a successful membership business.
What's up, membershipers? Welcome to another episode of the Membership Geeks podcast. I'm your host, Mike Morrison. Today, we're going to dig into one of those topics that isn't always the most fun to think about, but that's absolutely essential if you want to run a healthy, sustainable membership business that will go the distance. So we're going to talk about how to spot if someone is at risk of leaving your membership. Yes, we're dealing with the dreaded C word. But before all that, I want to thank you for listening. If this is your first time, be sure to hit the subscribe button in your podcast app to ensure that just as Aerosmith wanted, you're not going to miss a thing. Yes, I've dug that joke back up for our long-term listeners who have heard it far too many times. But while it's a big ask for you to endure that joke again, but I have another ask from you. If this show has helped you out in any way, if you could take just 30 seconds or so to leave a nice, shiny 5-star review, because I'm assuming it would be 5 stars, along with any kind words that you have for how this show has made a difference in your membership business, I truly appreciate it, and it helps us to reach and to help more people with things like handling cancellations in their memberships. Now, cancellations suck. None of us started a membership in the hope that we'd have all of these cancellations to celebrate. They are the thing most membership owners dread. And a big part of the reason is because they can sometimes feel like they just came out of nowhere. One day a member is with you, they're engaging, they're posting, they're happy, but the next you get that dreaded email or notification that their subscription has been cancelled, sometimes without any feedback, without a word, and without warning. But here's the reality. In most cases, cancellations do not happen suddenly. There are usually signals and warning signs that, if you know what to look for, can give you a chance to step in before it's too late. The more that you're able to notice and pick up on these signs, the more members you'll save and the better your retention will be overall. So let's start with an obvious one. Sometimes your members will outright tell you. They'll reach out to you directly, they'll say they're not happy, or that they're not sure if this membership's right for them anymore, or that they're going through something in their life that means they might need to leave. So they might email you, drop a message to your support desk, or even post it within your community. Now, not everyone's going to do that, not everyone's going to give you this warning, in fact most people won't, but when someone does raise their hand and say, hey, something isn't working, there is a reason I'll need to leave, that's a golden opportunity. It gives you a clear window to address their concerns. If someone has come and said, I think I might need to go, the worst thing you can do is ignore it or dismiss it or treat it with hostility. Even if their specific issue can't be fixed overnight, just taking the time to listen, to respond quickly and with care can be the difference between them leaving or deciding to stick around a little longer, even if you can't address their issue. Now, of course, most members are not going to be that direct. More often than not, the warning signs come from their behavior. A big one to watch out for is a drop in engagement. If you've got someone who used to log into your membership daily, who were working their way steadily through your content, who was active in your community, and all of a sudden they are barely showing up. They go AWOL. Maybe they surface once or twice a month, but something's not right. Perhaps that's a sign that they're having problems, they've lost momentum. Maybe they're getting disheartened, unmotivated because they don't feel they're seeing progress. Perhaps life's just gotten in the way, they've gotten busy. Whatever the cause, this can be a big red flag that they'll soon be heading towards the exit. Now, technology can help you to flag these things. Some software and plugins will have reporting features that will show you when someone last logged in. Some learning management systems will actually show you how long since someone completed a lesson. You can use tools like WP Fusion, which is fantastic in enabling you to not only add tags to members that haven't logged in for a while, but also let you add a tag when someone completes a lesson or views a piece of content. So you could set something up in your email automation system whereby if it's been 30 days since someone last had a tag saying that they'd watched the lesson, an automation gets triggered that either sends an email to them automatically or, even better, will alert you that you need to check in with those people. Now, you don't want to bombard unengaged members or members who've stopped logging in as much and stopped consuming as much with just generic reminder emails. That's just going to frustrate and annoy them and potentially make it worse. But if you can reach out with something personal and supportive, that can make the difference. Remind them that you're there. Remind them that you have resources, you have tools, you are a support service, that you can help them out if they are stuck. Perhaps recommend a specific piece of content that can pick up from the last thing that they looked at if you check back and see what was the last lesson, what was the last piece of content. Or just start that conversation. Find out if there's anything they need help with. That kind of personal attention can go a long way in re-engaging someone before they hit cancel. Another area to keep an eye on is email engagement. If members are consistently not opening the emails that go out specifically to your paid members, if they've stopped clicking through to announcements about new content, to live events that you're running, that could mean your membership is slipping down their list of priorities. Now, of course, everyone's email inbox is an increasingly noisy place. Not everyone opens or even sees every single email. But when you start to see a pattern of silence from people who were previously engaged, it is a clue that they may be losing interest. And if emails are the main way that you communicate updates to your member base, missing out on those is going to speed up the feeling of disconnection. This is why we recommend one of the essential things every membership owner does is send a weekly newsletter to keep that connection going even when life gets busy. And you, within your email service, will be able to flag anybody who hasn't opened that for a while and pay them a little extra attention. You'll also want to pay attention to any shifts in tone or behavior inside your community. Maybe you've got a member who used to be positive, helpful, and upbeat, but now they're nitpicking, complaining, or just generally negative. That change in tone is often a sign of growing dissatisfaction. If left undressed, it can fester. It's not just that you risk losing that member, negativity in a community can spread and affect others too. So when you see this kind of thing happening, don't brush it off. Engage with them, try to get to the root of the issue, and if needed, take things to a private conversation where you can really listen and try to turn things around. And remember, these signs aren't always contained within your membership space within the community. Members show up in other places online. They'll post on social, they'll comment on industry blogs, they'll leave reviews. Sometimes the first thing that you see of somebody wavering isn't in your forum or inbox, it's on Twitter, it's in a Facebook group, or it's buried in a comment thread on someone else's site. That's why it's important to monitor mentions of your brand and keep an eye on those external spaces people might be showing up. Now, don't start developing paranoia, but just have a sense of the general discourse around your brand. That gives you an opportunity to step in and show that you're listening, even when the feedback isn't coming through your official channels. There have definitely been instances that we've seen in memberships we worked with where they assumed all their members loved everything they did, but then some of the conversations happening on Reddit or happening on Twitter were not very favourable, even with some comments coming from people that these membership owners thought were their biggest fans. Now, beyond the individual signals, you also need to zoom out and look at the bigger picture, because often the patterns of when people leave your membership are just as important as the individual day-to-day signals. We need to look for patterns. A really useful metric here is your average member tenure. So basically how long the average person will typically stay a member before they cancel. Most membership plugins or platforms can give you this data, or at least give you the data that you can plug into something else in order to calculate it. Once you know that average, you can start digging into what's happening around that time frame. Now, in terms of industry benchmarks, it can vary across membership to membership, but from our research and from our own online membership industry report, then we know that the average member tenure in online memberships tends to fall at around 9 to 10 months. So if you don't have that data for your own membership, you can use that as a rough kind of time frame, but ideally dig into the data, find out the average, and then within your own membership, look at what's happening around that time frame. So if you notice that on average people are leaving your membership after 6 months, ask yourself, okay, what's happening at the 6-month mark? Are people typically completing a course that lasts 6 months and then they feel like they've accomplished everything? Is it a natural point where motivation drops? Is it something external like a seasonal pattern? When you understand the why behind your average member tenure, you can start taking steps to address them. So I like to call these off-ramps. There are points in a member's journey where cancellations are more likely to occur. The first off-ramp is right at the start. In those first few days after someone joins, people are in kind of a post-purchase haze. They're questioning their decision, wondering if they did the right thing, and if their first experience of your membership hasn't been great, maybe it's not matched what they expected, if your onboarding hasn't been great, that can be enough to have them thinking, you know what, I'm just going to leave. This is why member onboarding is so critical. First impressions really do matter. So that initial post-purchase off-ramp is absolutely a risk of cancellation. Another obvious off-ramp, if you are offering trials, is the end of that trial. Not everyone who takes a trial intends to become a long-term member. Some are just curious, some are skeptical, some just want to be nosy. You're always going to lose a percentage of people at the end of their trial. The goal is to make sure you're doing enough during the trial to convert as many as possible into paying members, but also recognizing that drop-off from trials is natural. Same goes if you have a money-back guarantee period. That is a natural off-ramp. And the end of the first billing cycle. That is also a big off-ramp. Each of those moments is when your members will naturally be reassessing whether they're getting enough value to stick around. Then you've got the bigger billing cycles, quarterly renewals, annual renewals. Those are huge, huge off-ramps because that financial commitment to continue is a lot bigger and people do think harder about whether it's worth sticking around. On top of that, you also have seasonal off-ramps. Around Christmas, people tighten their belts. At New Year, they declutter their lives. They do a little audit on their expenses. If you're serving a business audience, the end of the tax year can prompt people to cut costs. All of these moments can lead to cancellations if you're not ready for them. So what do you do with this information about patterns, about your average member tenure, and where that average off-ramp is, as well as some of the more common off-ramps that most memberships will face? The key is to be proactive. If you know that people tend to drop off around month 6, have something special planned around that time that will re-engage them. Maybe it's a bonus piece of content, maybe it's a personal check-in, maybe it's a surprise reward. If you know that annual renewals are a sticking point, think about what you can do to reinforce value before that renewal date, making sure that you have some check-ins as they're coming up to that renewal. Loyalty rewards, tenure-based bonuses, even just personally celebrating milestones. These are all things that you can do to show people they're valued and to encourage them to stick around longer. And then we have something called FOMO, the fear of missing out. Now, you will know I do not like anything manipulative, but I hate that. I hate the fact that I said but in that way. But when it comes to FOMO, giving people that gentle reminder that them leaving has consequences can be a powerful motivator. If someone cancels, think of what they're going to lose. They'll lose access to new content, to new resources, to the support network and the community. Sometimes members forget that. They think, hey, well, I'll just cancel for now and I'll come back later, but they don't really think about what they will lose. A little nudge in your communications and in your cancellation process can help keep that front of mind. And if you have legacy pricing in your membership where you honor the price someone initially signed up for, then those members might not realize that if they leave, they will lose their legacy pricing. And if they then decide to rejoin in the future, they'd have to sign up at the current price, which may be higher than they were currently paying. So again, sometimes you just need to put this front of mind for people who are thinking about leaving. So spotting at-risk members really does come down to paying attention. You can use technology to do this, but also it requires you to have your eye on the ball. It's all about noticing the signals, both the obvious ones, like a member coming and telling you outright that they're thinking of leaving, It's about looking at what your community is doing, noticing subtle shifts in engagement, tone, participation, manner, digging into the data to find the patterns, establish what your membership's off-ramps are, the points where people naturally reconsider sticking around, putting systems and strategies in place so that when those signs show up, you're ready to step in. Retention in memberships is not just about reacting when someone hits the cancellation button. Often, when someone's hitting cancel, it's already too late. Retention's all about being proactive, having your eyes open, having your finger on the pulse, knowing what to look for, and taking small but meaningful steps to re-engage those members before it's too late. Alright, so that's it for today's episode of the Membership Geeks podcast. I do hope this has given you some food for thought and some practical ideas that you can take away to strengthen your retention strategy by being able to better spot those members who are at risk of leaving. And of course, if you want to dive deeper into this sort of thing, you want the step-by-step strategies, templates, systems, and support to really master your membership retention, come join us inside Membership Academy. Head on over to membershipacademy.com and join the #1 training community for online membership owners. That's it from me for this week. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next time on the Membership Geeks podcast. Bye for now.
If you enjoyed this week's episode of the Membership Geeks podcast, we invite you to check out membershipacademy.com. Membership Academy is the original membership about memberships, and it's the essential resource for anyone at any stage of starting, growing, and running a successful online membership business. Whether you're still trying to figure out what your idea is going to be and you need some help making it a reality, or whether your website is already up and running and you're looking for ways to grow and attract new members, then Membership Academy can help you to get to the next level. Not only do you get access to our step-by-step membership roadmap, our extensive training library, and exclusive member-only discount and tools, you'll also become part of our supportive, active community of membership owners that will help you along the way in your journey with feedback, encouragement, and advice. All of this and more make Membership Academy the #1 place to be for anyone looking to start, manage, and grow a successful membership business. Check it out and join the community at membershipacademy.com.